right. I'm a big Luis J. Gomez fan, as you guys know, and he was talking about something that is something I've given a lot of thought lately as well, because you've heard me mention it before when we talk about like Brennan Shaw and things like that. I think there's such a fine line. I think there's an epidemic happening online that's never really been addressed or solved, and there's probably some people in the chat, although I think we get very little of it percentage-wise. But there are some people that suffer from this, and I think there's such a fine line between making fun of shows you don't like and getting like violently angry about them and arguing about them. I think that's such a different world. You know what I mean? Like even like you can say like Red Bar is very negative, but he's being creative and funny. Whereas, like, there are people online where it's like, what are you doing? even when it's something that is like annoying, like Stuttering John. Like if you're looking at what Stuttering John does, Stuttering John just did a backyard comedy show. Carl had the audio, and he throws a line to this audience that does not know him or the Dabbleverse. And Stuttering John goes, you know, I don't know if you guys know this. I got a lot of haters. They hate me because I'm very successful. They be jelly. That was a line in his stand-up act.
They be jelly?
Yes. Oh. And if you're watching this, you're going, is this guy having a stroke? What's happening? Why is he talking like that? Who are his haters? I've never heard of this guy. Or I knew him on Howard Stern 25 years ago. What the fuck is that? But like, so that's annoying. But to get angry about that, to go on Reddit and be like, fuck John. He deserves, I'm glad his kids don't talk to him. It's like, well, what are you doing? This is weirder than what John is doing. And so Lewis addressed that on Lewis and Zach, and I thought it was an interesting conversation they had.
So I couldn't scroll. I couldn't argue with trolls on Twitter. I stopped arguing with trolls on Twitter altogether.
It's tough. It's so hard.
Oh, there's been a couple. There's been a couple recently where I'm like, oh, I want to argue. But I made a decision that I'm going to stop arguing with trolls on Twitter. I was doing it just too much.
Yeah,
I was trolling the trolls, and they were trolling me back, and nobody was a winner here.
Yeah, I know.
It really is. It's pretty wild. Like, there's like adults who make accounts just to troll comedians.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, when you're making that account and you're like, dude, I'm going to make this account just so I can say mean things to Jim Norton. Like, you don't feel like a loser when you type in the
always like older gossipy men.
Yeah,
it's like weird. Yeah.
If it was like a 17-year-old kid, I would go like, have fun. You're young.
They listen to everything all day, and they're like, this guy said this and this and this.
It's a crazy
like
fucking thing.
Old.
Like, how do you think you're winning? I don't understand. Like, it's fine. I get what you're saying. You're saying mean things to comedians. I understand why maybe that you think that's fun, but at one point,
pause real quick
in the mirror and go.
But this is where I think it's an interesting conversation because it's a very fine line. I think because what Ian's referring to is true, where like there are people online all day that listen to all these shows every week. Every time they come out, they're listening to the show. Like you hear with Kirk's show, where there's people that hate the show, but they listen to every single episode, and they never liked it, but they're like, oh, it was better at this point. But if you went back to that point, they're like, the show sucks. They didn't like it then.
Yeah.
So that's like their sport to not like the show. But it's very difficult. I'll tell you why I say it's so such a delicate trapeze act you're walking here to criticize that, because those shows need that. I think the reason podcasts are so big is because people care so much about it. So to be like, oh, they gossip and they're losers for that is tough to say because it just means they're passionate about the show. If you tweak that an eighth of an inch, it's people that are like, oh my God, Ian, I love you so much. I loved your special. I listen to every episode of your podcast. I come see you every time you're in my town. You know what I mean? Like, so you don't have success if you don't have that level of passion, and it's ignorant to think that won't happen the other way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I do think those people are crazy, but it's a necessary evil, I think. And that's what's tough for people to get their minds around, because it's something that's never really been solved in the few decades that we've had real internet culture now, where our society is entirely based on that. People are always like, oh, Reddit's so negative or Twitter's so negative, whatever. But no one ever really acknowledges it and addresses it.
Yeah.
Like I do. That's why I think conversations like this are interesting to have and expand on, because you just kind of breeze by and you're like, oh, Reddit's negative. It's like, well, why is that? And will it always be that way? Like, or will we fucking grow up? Is it contributing to a lot of the negatives we have in society that have resulted in like real life things, because trolling is taking over all aspects of our life, not just the internet?
Well, it's also nice because the cool thing is to be like, I don't read comments, man.
Right. Well, that's why I like that Lewis is just like, no, I do.
Yeah. Right.
And he goes, even the people that say they don't, they're lying.
Right.
Like everyone reads comments. Now, I'll push back on that a little bit.
But Bert will be like, yeah, I don't read the comments. I just happen to read this one. And then he lists like 80 of them.
Were you on the episode? We talked about that with Bert?
Probably.
Bert goes, Bert goes, I was looking for a picture of me lying down.
Yes.
So I Googled Bert Kreischer lying. It's like, Bert, come on. What a circuitous route to get to. I read mean comments about me. I read online that people think I'm lying. Why do you have to take that angle?
You just knew that sentence would be. Does he not see the difference too between lying and lying down?
Yeah, but it is interesting. Yeah, it would be laying down, right? Bert Kreischer laying, not lying. But the reason I find this interesting because then I think about like this show, and I'm like, I don't feel that way about what I do. Like I don't like I this is my sports, Mm-hmm. I used to want to do sports talk radio, then I got more obsessed with this world, and that's what I talk about now because it interests me. So is it this thing where it's like just me talking about comics is inherently negative and lame and gay? I'll sue you, Ian Fidance.
Also, shout out to Ian Fidance. He's wearing a fucking Haywire hoodie. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, good for Ian. I don't know what that means, but
it's a Boston hardcore band that I did not know was outside of this area yet.
Oh, shout out to Ian. Well, I like Ian too, and Ian does get a lot of shit online and goes back at people. Going back at people probably not the best way to handle it, but I find it to be an interesting discussion because, like I said, it is sort of a necessary evil because the passion the other way. They're never like, oh, it's so gay that a fan came to my show and said he listens to everything I do and loves me. You know what I mean? They're not like, oh, that's so lame of them. Like, you need that to be successful.
My life. I'm literally making an account to tweet at a man that I don't know.
They have nothing going on. That's the reason why. They have a dead-end job, and so they're sitting there and they're listening to all of us, and they're just like, they feel like they're a part of it. So then they just like, they
but
know.
there's fandom, and then there's an adult human who. I wonder what Stuttering John said last time.
Hey, wait a minute, Zach.
Hey, you should have kept your mouth shut, Zach.
Every time we play a clip of Zach Amico on this show, it's him openly disrespecting what we do.
What we're currently in the middle of.
Remember, they played a clip of us once.
Yes.
And Zach was like, who are these losers?
Yes.
God damn it, Zach. I love you. Why do you hate everything I'm about?
I saw like a still shot of that video and I went, oh God. What's about to happen?
Zach, who has done an ad read for my podcast once. We advertised Why Are You Laughing on the Real Ass podcast. Just would hate me if he ever met me. And it's sad for me to realize that, but it's true.
To see what John Melendez, who has not been on media in 25 years, said, just kill yourself.
Stuttering John blocked me on everything.
Lewis mentions that every time John's name, it bothers him because he's like, why? What did I do to this man?
He's like, apparently I'm missing so much good.
But I got to say, though, I don't view it like those guys talk about news. They talk about viral videos and shit like that. I don't view it as any different than that. That's what is kind of annoying when I hear conversations like that, where it's like, well, there are people that just find Stuttering John interesting, and now John goes away, so you find other things interesting,
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I understand the conversation is there are people that make us look bad. You know what I mean? There are people that obsess about John to an unhealthy degree, I think. And I don't know what we do about that as a society, really. Just calm the fuck down, I guess. You're making us look crazy.
Here we have them talking about fake accounts.
All right, yeah, they talk a little more about this.
Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't imagine even like saying something negative or like
No, I
mean.
understand saying something negative. I mean,
I don't know,
we do
like-
it, dude. We just trashed Long Legs. Like,
Right,
fuck Long
right,
Legs,
but we're
fuck the
not
director,
going
fuck Long
online
Legs.
and, and being like, here it is, fuck you, or like something on like a YouTube. Like I just don't understand.
So I don't consider
being
being
negative
critical of something online is not the same as creating an account, like a secret account with a
Right.
fucking a Trump photo to be like,
Right.
hey, fuck you, you're a comedian I hate.
When I heard that, I was like, all right, thank you, Lewis. So I'm allowed to do this then. I'm me. Oh, all right, thank you.
Zach just puts his finger up. 1 second.
Particularly not blind Mike.
That guy sucks.
How does he even know me? There is like kind of on the same topic. Josh Adam Myers, who was on that episode.
Yeah.
You've heard me talk about the Ari and Joe DeRosa show that ends Skankfest every year, right?
Yes.
Where they're brutally honest about comedians.
Yes.
This year, I left that show and walked into the bathroom, as many men do at that time. And Josh Adam Myers is in front of me. And I didn't hear what someone said to him, but he goes, nah, man, I didn't mind. I do need to write better jokes. And I thought that was very funny. But yeah, I think it's an interesting discussion, and like it does make me question a lot of the stuff that happens online. And gossiping is very gay and everything. Now let's hear Ari Shaffir talk about the Austin comedy scene, shall we?
I think so. I think we need
All right, yeah, yeah. All that other stuff is gay, but here's Ari gossiping, and I really want to talk about it.
Are you amazed at the success of Austin or with the comedy scene in Austin? What do you think about it?
It's exciting. For sure, it's exciting. They got some shit to overcome if they want to be the real scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to know where they're weak. They don't.
Oh, where they're weak, the comedians, you mean?
Yeah, there are a lot of like ass kissing there. It's like we're great, and you really got to focus on why we're terrible. Self-hating was always drive you better than celebration.
Oh, you know what? That's a good. I don't know if there's as much self-hatred there.
Yeah, the store, especially when you started going there, like right after me, it was like nobody was there. Like we suck. We fucking suck. It's obvious. No one's here to see us. So let's try to be better.
Yeah, they've kind of started out like doing well.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Jean Benet of comedy.
Yeah, 4-year comedy. Serious.
I didn't catch that the first time I heard this.
Oh, you needed that fucking struggle time. You started with a spotter. It's not the best way to work out.
I didn't even really think about that.
Yeah, but it's still exciting. It's a new burgeoning scene, and that's pretty exciting. You know, there's no Hollywood there to fuck it up, to like, shit people away from what they're doing. So they're really just concentrating on jokes.
But so here's why I wanted to play that is like comedians have discussions like this. And I agree with Ari. I think that's an interesting conversation that like Tony Hinchcliffe mainly props a lot of these guys up that aren't ready to headline. And all of a sudden, Cam Patterson, who is funny, he's a massive comedian, a touring comedian now, like way too early before he has any actual material.
Way too early.
Before he has any material. So like, I think that's an interesting discussion. But you can't then shit on fans who are trying to also engage in that discussion. What the only cure for that is you just don't talk about comedy on podcasts anymore.
Right.
Because it's crazy for two comics to have a discussion about the Austin comedy scene and then be like, but the people online aren't allowed to do that. Stop the conversation right there.
I thought the funniest thing Cam Patterson ever said was when Tucker Carlson was on Kill Tony. He's like, my grandmother hates you.
No, she doesn't. Yes, she does.
That was funny.
Yeah. No, Cam's a very naturally funny guy, but he's like 25 years old. Like he doesn't have any material yet. No. And he like, I don't think he fully knows I was listening when the Protect Our Parks guys were on, and Cam said something about the LA fires. And he's like, I noticed all these chimneys are still standing. Why don't you make the whole house out of that? And when he gets done with his minute, Shane is laughing hysterically and goes, hey, Cam, why don't you make the whole plane out of the black box? And Cam goes, why don't they? Like he didn't know that joke even. So like he's just a very green comedian, but Tony is like, he's a legend. He's the greatest. So I do think that's an interesting discussion. And fans are allowed to have that discussion. Like, that's what frustrates me when I hear a lot of these comics. Like Stavros does this a lot as well, where he's like, all these fans are so fucking gay for like caring about. It's like, well, those are the people that are buying your movie. Those are the people that are downloading your podcast and going to your shows. So like, is that gay when they do that? Because they're also going to have thoughts in the opposite direction. They're also going to think certain things suck, and they're allowed to voice that. But there are people that are fucking crazy that are like, what is John doing for work? We should try to get him fired. Why would you go to that level?
And speaking of Stavros, did you see his new movie?
I did.
I thought it was very funny.
It is. It was actually in that. It's weird. In that episode, Zach mentioned Stavi's movie and says it was very good. See, Zach, we get along.
Yes, we were on the same page.
No, it was very good. It was like a 90s comedy that they don't make anymore.
Correct. Yeah. And I enjoyed CM Punk, who's straight edge, being a drunken sexual pervert.
Yeah. That was funny.
It was very good.
It was the kind of movie you would have seen in the theaters 25 years ago and been like, that wasn't bad. But now they just don't make those anymore, you know?
Yeah. I enjoyed Stav in that movie a lot.
But yeah, that's it. That I wanted to have that kind of discussion because like I get both angles of it, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it is a stark difference to me. The people that go like, hey, isn't this fucking steel toe clip funny? You know, or pick your show that gets made fun of, Crystalia, whatever. Like, isn't this clip funny? Versus like, oh, they make me so mad. I hate them. I need to call them out. I need to take them to task. So there's some like, you know, there's somewhere we can meet in the middle. I feel, I guess is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Go to blindmike.net for everything Blind Mike. Look at me. I did it. Kragers did it.